Governor, thank you so much for all your tireless efforts helping us out, but also delivering for the state of Georgia. I think you have an exemplary record on how to handle everything that's been going on over the last few months without destroying our lives. But he showed that we can be responsible without destroying our businesses, without destroying our livelihoods, getting our kids back to school, not shutting down forever. You noticed last night, Joe Biden keeps talking about his plan. What was his plan? Put more masks out? There was no plan. We'll do more masks. Guess what? The administration's been doing that for months, Joe. You would have needed a lot more masks had we kept the borders open for another 8 weeks like you wanted. At that point, it wouldn't have done any good. But there was no other plan. But again,
where's your sign?
As you've seen, we should be accustomed to this, right? We should be accustomed to not being treated fairly. Just look at what's going on in the last couple of days. And that's what's really shocking. The last week has actually changed this election a lot in terms of the way you have to understand what's at stake. You know, as conservatives, we always understand that the left will have the Second Amendment on the table. That's sort of their go-to thing. But think about it now, guys. Our First Amendment is on the table. Yeah. That is literally at jeopardy right now. And I know that because I've watched a 200-year-old newspaper, the oldest continuously published paper in America, the second largest paper in New York, put out information about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and Jim Biden and their dealings with foreign corrupt countries, agencies, businesses. And I watched mainstream media cancel their own. The same mainstream media that went crazy every time Donald Trump, correctly by the way, called them the fake news. Yes. Now they're going crazy and they're canceling themselves. But think about that. It wasn't just mainstream media, you had social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they said, we're not going to disseminate information. They go, but did you put it through your ridiculous fact check process, right? You know, where we send it to every friend we have on the left and they figure out there's a comma in the wrong spot, therefore we're just marking it as false. We'll flag your account, we'll deplatform you, we'll take you down. They didn't even do that. They just said, we're just not going to link to it. Now, no one debunked it. Most importantly, it's been about a week. And the Biden campaign still has not denied that the things are real. Remember what they did? They did, well, that's next, sir. It wasn't the Russians yet. That's the go-to, right? That's the inevitable. Well, we got nothing else. It was the Russians. Guess what? Hunter was taking money from the Russians too. That's the $3.5 million from a Putin associate. I don't think Don Jr. can get away with that. That would be a problem. But first, they just said, well, we're not linking to it. We're going to shut it down. We're going to make sure this never gets out, because in their desperate attempts to help Joe Biden, they will do anything to cover this. I mean, this is the smoking gun we've been talking about. Yeah. Now, there's an actual whistleblower. But again, the Biden campaign still has not denied it. They go, well, Joe Biden, it's not in his official White House calendar. Oh. That settles it. It's time to go home, but nothing to see here, folks. Yeah, I have a feeling that even Joe Biden's not dumb enough to put meeting with corrupt Ukrainian official who's paying $110 million and holding I'm new to politics, right? I'm not there like 47 years like Joe Biden with no accomplishment. So I'm new to this. I have a feeling they're not putting that in the official calendar. But notice the media was, it's wonderful. That's it. But he didn't answer the question. Did you actually take the meeting? Notice how he hasn't denied that. And now, the laptop was a Russian disinformation campaign. I guess Hunter was working with the Russians to drop off the laptop because we've seen the receipt with his signature on it. Right. If it's a Russian disinformation campaign, how come Hunter's lawyers are saying, can we please have the laptop back? If it's a Russian disinformation campaign, how come the FBI is saying that it's not. And I say that not because I'm a huge fan of the FBI leadership. You've seen what they did to my family and my father and General Flynn. They sat on exculpatory evidence for years for Flynn. They peddled and helped push the dossier, which we now all know to be a lie. 27 of them magically all deleted their iPhones by entering the wrong password. I mean, imagine I use that as an excuse. Imagine that. When they spent 3 years trying to throw me each other, you think I could have been like, guys, I got nothing for you. I deleted, I forgot my password. I'd be in jail. I'd be calling the governor from a payphone out of Rikers Island. Right? So, can you put me on speakerphone, please? Let me speak to the group. He probably wouldn't take that call, and rightfully so. Yeah, he wouldn't be playing Despacito, I'd just be like trying to... So if you don't think for 1 second that your First Amendment rights are on the table, you haven't been watching, right? They're happy to peddle in disinformation as long as it hurts Republicans and conservatives. Notice how even the most vile accounts on left-wing Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, they don't get censored, deplatformed, demonetized, thrown off, thrown in Facebook jail. Those things don't happen, right? I got in trouble with Instagram a couple weeks ago. I got thrown off because I said that Kamala Harris called Joe Biden a racist.
She did.
Of course it's true. Of course it didn't matter. They said, no, it's incorrect. I go, what do you mean? They go, she didn't use the word racist. I go, did you watch the debates? Oh, seriously, right? Did you watch? She talked about every quote he ever said. I mean, Joe Biden was like best friends with every segregationist to walk the halls of Congress. Right? The super predator comments. Yeah. I don't want my kids going to school in a racial jungle. You know, that can be totally absolved. It's sort of mind-boggling, right? You talk about his crime bills, what that did, breaking up families, right? That didn't just hurt the people they put in jail for ridiculously long periods of, 30 years for smoking weed. Oh, that's a wonderful, that didn't just hurt, that hurt generations. That's doing irreparable damage. The irony of all things is that it was Donald Trump that actually is righting those wrongs. Right? If anything that Donald Trump does that's good, we'll just put that in the corner. We'll get to more of those later. But if Joe Biden really, as he says, and as the media is so happy to carry his water for him, he's going to fix racial relations in America. No, it's a noble cause. I think it's wonderful. Why'd you wait 47 years, Joe? If you really cared about these issues, Joe, maybe you would have utilized, 38 years in the United States Senate. If you weren't just pandering, if it wasn't just lip service, I don't know, this is just me. I would have utilized my 8 years as vice president to the first African American president to do something. And we all know he's not going to now, because if Joe Biden fixes a problem, the Democrats don't get to campaign on it. And that's how they've made themselves powerful. By forcing victimhood on people. By selling it ad nauseum. But it was Donald Trump who righted those wrongs. It was Donald Trump that put forth prison reform. The First Step Act. Refresh my memory here, because I don't remember any of those things being a part of the Republican Party platform. Right? They weren't, we weren't around there campaigning on these things. My father saw the numbers, he saw what happened, he saw how insane it was, and he acted because it was the right thing to do. It's that simple. I mean, there's some people in this room that get it. Vernon Jones. He gets it. He didn't just follow the dogma blindly. It wasn't party above common sense.
That's right.
He saw action, not words. And my father highlighted that really well, right? We saw that last night, Joe Biden. Well, what are you going to do about China? Well, China this, and it's about being family around a table. What the hell are you talking about? You had some intern? You're talking about family like it really matters to you, Joe. In all fairness, if it really mattered, you probably wouldn't let Hunter do the things he's been doing. If that wasn't the get rich ticket scheme for the Bidens, then you probably would have done something about that, or stepped in, or maybe, since you knew all of these things, maybe you wouldn't have put him through all of this by running for president. Now, that's the irony of all of this. The irony of this election is the Democrats are fielding the most compromised candidate in the history of the U.S. presidency. And the only reason they're doing that is because they and the media refuse to do their jobs. Imagine they just had some guts. Right? Maybe they had a little bit of guts like Vernon. To just say, maybe we look into this. Maybe they would have found supposed to just think about it. Imagine they did a fraction, just a tiny fraction, like 1/1,000,000th. Alright? Of the amount of diligence they did on me, on my father, on my family, just looking for anything to hit us with. Now, after 4 years, they still found nothing, but it doesn't stop them from pretending there's stuff. But imagine they did that. They wouldn't be running the most compromised candidate in the history of America. But that's all it is of it. It's smoke and mirrors. Right, Joe Biden? Well, no, it's Margaret Joe from Scranton. Blue-collar Joe. Blue-collar Joe. Slow down here, folks. You're not blue-collar Joe if you've been a senator since your 20s. Construction and get
That's all the worry. The whole speed.
I'll say this with a very straight face. I have had more blue-collar jobs than Joe Biden. Unlike Hunter Biden and the Bidens, we were actually business people prior to politics. Right? We didn't need to leverage our father's taxpayer-funded office to get wealthy. We did that the hard way. We built buildings. And my father's theory was, if you're going to build a building one day, Doc, you better damn well know how to dig the foundation. So he stuck me in a tractor at young ages. So my brother and I, we did those things. It's the exact opposite of the Bidens, right? Hunter got a six-figure job at MD&A, the largest bank in the state of Delaware, where Joe Biden just happened to be signing a really favorable legislation for the banking industry and for the credit card companies. He went through the ranks really quickly. I wonder why. He was like 20-something when he got a board seat at Amtrak. I guess Daddy liked trains. That was his qualification. Just like you think the Chinese government invested $1.5 billion in Hunter Biden because they thought he was a great investor? Yeah. Not a lot of great investors I know would turn rental cars with crack pipes.
Wow. That was savage.
$30 million a year in fees, just so we understand it. You think I can get away with that?
Lock him up. Lock him up.
Sometimes that happens, guys, because this stuff can't be going on in America. My father was right. Joe Biden epitomizes everything we hate about Washington, D.C., but we get to hear about blue-collar, working-class Joe. You know, moderate Joe. As I said, he's not a blue-collar guy at all. Never has been. He's not really from Scranton. He left when he was 9. He's a swamp creature to the nth degree. And that's it. But you'll hear that because they want to try to convince America that he's a moderate. But guess what? You're not a moderate if Kamala Harris is your VP. Take your AR-15 as your guns are. You're not a moderate stealing Bernie Sanders' platform. You're not a moderate pushing the Green New Deal and wanting to eliminate our energy sector. Those aren't moderate positions, but the left is trying to utilize Joe Biden like camouflage. We use him to sneak in this radical Marxist agenda, and that's what we have to understand here, guys. We have to understand that this Democrat Party that we're competing against today is not your grandparents' Democrat Party. It's not your parents' Democrat Party. It's a socialist Marxist party. That's what we're fighting for, guys. Right? It's all on the table. Our freedom, our liberty. I mean, they're literally pushing a socialist Marxist platform. And I know a little bit about this. You know, I get that I'm the son of a rich guy from New York and I'm not allowed to have an opinion, let alone voice it in 2020. I understand that. They will cancel me, which is not a big deal since I've probably been canceled 19 times today. So, you know, I've been canceled so many thousands of times it doesn't even matter anymore. I'm just like, whatever. And it's sort of refreshing. It's cathartic, yeah, because I do whatever the hell I want. Because I don't care what they say. But I have a mother that escaped from communism and socialism. She did so legally, but she escaped. And there's a reason the boats only go one way. You notice how all the celebrities that say they're leaving America this time if Trump wins? You notice how it's never to a socialist country? Listen, hey, the Democrats can get someone to stand on the stage with a straight face and say that spending $93 trillion on the Green New Deal to eliminate farting cows and air travel is a wonderful economic plan that will pay for itself. But they can't find someone who's actually lived under socialism who will vouch for it. You get Bernie and a bunch of 14-year-olds. Those are the people who think it's wonderful. If it was so great, how come there's no one from Cuba? How come there's no one from Venezuela? Right. Or Russia or China that will come here and say, pretty nice to here. After 47 years of nothing. Now, if you know people on the fence, guys, think about it. Ask them to name a single Joe Biden accomplishment. Just one. No, only one. I'm not trying to be hard here. Just one. But if you can't, because I can't, isn't that the problem? I mean, think about it. If you were, I don't know, fixing something at your home and you had a contractor there, and they spent 47 years working on it, and it was still broken, would you give them a promotion? Instead, you got Donald Trump, who against all odds took this on. He didn't need this job. He didn't need to break a hole in the head, okay? But he did it because it was worth it. And he knew how bad it would be, because the last thing he told me when he made his announcement back in June of 2015 was, now we find out who our real friends are. He told me that. He went in the elevator. Which then he knew. The celebrities that used to pal around with him, kiss his butt. A couple kids in the room, so I couldn't take that further. He's in what? 135 rap songs or something like that. You know, those guys, yeah, they all hated him. It was all 100% positive. But the second you put that little bar next to your name for Republican, it was over. He knew all that, and he did it anyway. And he got things done. We're getting it. Just do what he's told. That's why we got out of those wars and we're pulling our troops home.
Yeah.
The strongest economy America has ever seen. Remember there's no magic wand for the things you're saying back in 2016? Well, abracadabra! Trade deals that Joe Biden pushed for his entire career that took your American dream and took our manufacturing jobs and sent them abroad. Right? Joe supported TPP, sent our jobs to Asia. He doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on NAFTA. That sent our jobs south of the border. He pushed for China's permanent status in the World Trade Organization. But now he's going to do something for blue-collar America. Right. Joe Biden's policies have single-handedly done more damage to blue-collar America, good working-class jobs, than any politician in American history.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden is a Chinese company that today is still taking jobs out of Michigan and sending them to China.
And he said he's going to make China
I have a feeling if it was Junior again, this would be a story. But this is a recurring theme. It's why you are so important. You guys need to speak to your friends. You need to tell them about the economy. You need to tell them that Donald Trump is the guy that created the lowest unemployment numbers for African Americans. The highest amount of new startup businesses for all of those same groups. Donald Trump is the guy taking on our drug manufacturers to make sure that we can lower pricing so we're not selling drugs in Europe for 2 cents on the dollar of what we're making Americans pay. Because we're morons and our politicians have been bought by Big Pharma.
Right.
He's taking that on. That's why, because you elected a fighter and he's willing to fight, and because he's not owned by anyone unlike the Bidens, he can do what's right for us.
And not take a paycheck.
He knew what would happen when he ran, and he did it anyway because it's worth it. It's why that fight mentality, that spirit, that energy, that willingness to buck the trend and go against them. It's why maybe we're doing minor things like peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
We've been hearing about it for our whole lives. And for the last 4 years, we've been hearing that Donald Trump's doing it all wrong by the same moron experts who haven't gotten anything done in 45 years. But they're still right. They're the experts. So rather than repeating the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, Donald Trump took a different approach. And now they got 3 peace deals in the Middle East. I say 2 in the Middle East, 1 up in Kosovo. So I say different regions, same problem, right? Because if I don't specify, they'll say I lied about peace deals in the Middle East, right? This is how it works. Just like they spent more time fact-checking my sister the day that was announced when she had introduced my father in her speech, because her son had built. Right? He like a White House, right? You know where I'm going. Right? Did he do it by himself? Children, there's a 3-year-old kid, like you're lying about it. They would rather talk about, let's cancel a 3-year-old rather than talking about peace in the Middle East. By the way, I just read today. Looks like they got another one done in Sudan. Different region, same problem. This is unprecedented stuff, and you don't even hear about it. You hear that Joe Biden's going to fix things now. Joe Biden's not going to do anything. Joe Biden, for all we know, is compromised by every major corrupt regime we're ever dealing with. You think that there's a reason that the Iranians are putting out disinformation about Donald Trump right now? Yeah. The Democrats, the media are more than happy to push that. They'll team up with Iran to hurt Donald Trump. Our intelligence agencies have said that China wants Joe Biden to win. Of course they did. That $30 million a year. That's going to pay dividends for them. That's why they gave the money to Hunter, not because he's a good investor. Give me a break. No one's ever heard of him as an investor or otherwise. There was no track record. So now you have a president that has actually accomplished something. But we need you to get out and speak to your friends. Call them. Text them. Do whatever you can on social media, knowing it's going to be censored. Do 3 times as much. Because the deck is stacked against us, guys. We are not in a fair fight. Again, if the mainstream media acted as journalists and not activists, they wouldn't be in this problem. We need you to fight for him. You got 10 days. Get out there. Get your friends. Bring them to vote. Make sure they do it. Apathy will get us nothing. You see the way, you see the surge, you see what they're trying to do in the games that we'll be playing. We need to win overwhelmingly, and we cannot do that without you, Georgia.
Here he comes.
Here he comes.